He's played more games, won more games, and had more shutouts than any goalie in team history. And tonight, Kirk McLean is the subject of our series on the greatest Canuck of all time. And here is Squire.
Thanks, Deb. The Canucks have had their share of decent goaltenders. Gary Smith had an amazing season back in '74-75. Richard Brodeur, of course, was brilliant in the 1982 playoffs, but nobody was as consistently good as Kirk McLean, who would have been the MVP, the Conn Smythe winner, had the Canucks won the 1994 Stanley Cup.
Roberts moves it ahead to Fleury. Here he comes with Reichel. Fleury for Reichel. Great save by Kirk McLean.
Well, the save that everybody remembers and talks about is the one off Reichel in Calgary in Game 7 of the Flames Canuck playoff series when it's a 3-on-1 and Theoren Fleury is right in front of McLean with the puck, and I said, here comes the winner.
You know, when you're up high, you see everything unfold, and it looked like it was going to be a cinch goal.
Unbelievable save by Kirk McLean.
I think guys are walking off the bench, you know, because those two guys don't miss opportunities like that.
Great pass by Fleury. Better save by McLean.
That was the save of saves in Canucks history. There's been none like it.
If Kirk McLean had done nothing else for the Vancouver Canucks except be their goalie for those 58 days that made up the 1994 playoffs, he would still be considered one of the franchise's greatest players.
Now a pass across in front. McLean, a fantastic save off Gagner. Spectacular goaltending by Kirk McLean.
But like a few others in team history, 1994 was the pinnacle of his time in Vancouver.
Gilbert trying to come in. McLean made a great save.
McLean was one of the first acquisitions made by Pat Quinn when he arrived in 1987. It was a trade that helped pave the road to the Stanley Cup final.
Bob McCammon had watched him in Portland, Maine when he had played in the American League and liked him, thought he had a lot of potential. And after we had traded for him, his conditioning was not good, and he really worked at it over that summer and came back, and that's when he took off. And the team took off at the same time.
He was a rock around which they always talk about being strong down the middle. That includes your goaltender, and that is the middle, and he was a big reason for our success in the 90s.
Pat Quinn, Bob McCammon, they were both right about Kirk McLean. But it took a few years before he became one of the best goalies in the NHL. In 1991-92, he led the league in wins and shutouts, and he also finished second to Patrick Waugh for the Vezina Trophy.
Mac wasn't a person that really got shaken by anything. You know, that was the other calming effect that he had on the team. He was a guy that not a lot of things threw him off. And he would show that in the dressing room, he showed that on the ice, and I think that really made us a better team also.
He was the type of guy who was very calm and cool in the way he approached things. He would be extremely relaxed before games, almost to the point of concerning, you know, but that's how he approached things, and very intense during the game, no question about it.
Even when he had a bad game, and you went to ask him about the game, he would say, oh, they scored a couple lucky goals tonight. Everything was lucky.
Gilmore moving in on goal, shoots, McLean picked it off. Oh, man! No, Captain Kirk and Toronto shaking their head.
He played 24 games in the 1994 playoffs, but some seem bigger than others, like Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals against New York.
Here's a quick break for Messier, trying to get in the clear, coming in on goal, he shoots, and McLean stopped him. McLean has been unbelievable.
McLean's equipment that night included a force field. He made over 50 saves against the Rangers, allowing the Canucks to take Game 1 in overtime.
Probably the most incredible display of goaltending I've ever seen. I mean, he single-handedly won that game for us. We won in overtime.
Lee shoots, hit the post, he hit the post. Bure with a steal. Bure with a lead for Ronning. Ronning's got Adams. Adams shoots, scores. Vancouver wins.
In that first game, the Canucks stole it on the overtime goal by Greg Adams, but more so on the goaltending of Kirk McLean. He was remarkable in that overtime win in Game 1 and really woke up the hockey world to say the Canucks are in this series.
Kirk McLean, give him a kiss, boys, because he saved your life tonight.
He was the first goalie in Canuck history ever to win a game in the Stanley Cup Finals. And then he won 2, and then he won 3 and tried to pull off the 4th.
Boy, there's a lot of times, you don't realize until you start watching a few of the games. Squire, and then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, I forgot that save. And Mac had some big saves for us.
He shoots, save McLean. The rebound poked away by McLean.
Kirk McLean was a graduate of old school net minding. While other goalies were learning to get low and do the butterfly, Kirk was still performing stand-up.
Now, he could do the other part. He could get down and cover, but it wasn't his general first reaction. It was with him, it was position.
McLean was more comfortable looking his opponents in the eye, playing the angles, being technically sound. And if he is to be the last of the old-style goalies, there is no doubt he did that fraternity proud.
He was here 10 years and was definitely a big part of our success.
There have been some good goaltenders in Canuck colors, but Kirk McLean's been the best.
And if you're wondering, Kirk McLean still lives in Vancouver. He works for the Canucks in their pay-per-view telecasts. Don't forget, you can vote for your favorite Canuck and enter a contest for Canuck tickets in the process. globalbc.com, search word Greatest Canuck. It's not over. Next Monday and Tuesday, we'll finish off the series. Linden on Monday, Marcus Naslund on Tuesday.